Hi, AT from CNC at Home. I found out recently that a young friend of mine has gotten engaged to his girlfriend. We know both families, which is kind of cool, and I've known the groom for 15 years or so. He's a fellow YouTuber. Won't be giving away any names, hopefully. I'll try not to. I wanted to do something special for them since I know both the bride and the groom's families, and I know both the bride and the groom. I'm going to do something similar that I've done in the past where I made some slate coasters as place markers for the head table at the wedding. Anyway, that's going to be a separate project. I also, in talking with the groom about this, and he was all for it, he kind of hinted that having a nice set of coasters, of course, what else would we make for a wedding, for their new home would be something nice. I know what he likes, and so I'll be doing something Lego based for his. And then for the bride, he said that she likes frogs. I love frogs. So I'm going to come up, I had an idea in my head, and I'm going to come up with a frog coaster. The way this project works is I'm just going to take a white ceramic tile like this, and I'm going to start out with a base coat of fluorescent green paint. I'm using fluorescent green because that's what I have. And it turns out kind of odd that when we coat the fluorescent green then with black, once we burn that away, the fluorescent green seems darker somehow, which is a kind of a cool effect. Once that's all done, then we'll coat it with some water-based polyurethane to get the paint all sealed on there. That's the basic process. For the groom, I'm going to go back to an older process. I'm going to use a cold galvanizing compound, again, on a white tile. I'm going to do a couple of them, and I'm going to come up with some sort of combination of Lego pieces on there. We'll see what that comes up like. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. To get started, what I did is I had a concept in my mind what I wanted the frogs to look like, or the frog to look like on the coaster. I wanted it to be, dark, and then just kind of barely coming out. If I was only as good of an artist as my brain is in conceptualizing, what I ended up finding turned out pretty decent. I started out by searching the interwebs for frogs. And I looked through tons and tons of images of frogs, narrowed it down to several. I'll have those fly across the screen here. Found several frogs that I liked, and I settled on this one. That's the frog we're going to take into Lightburn and see if we can get that to fit a tile and burned out nicely. So let's head over to Lightburn and see how that process works. Within Lightburn, the first thing I'm going to do is open up my coaster template. The coaster template is basically a square that's 109 millimeters square. That is the approximate size of the tiles, and I find that works really well. Let's zoom in on that. This is going to be our working area. The next thing to do is bring in the frog image. Lightburn automatically converts our frog to black and white. And he looks like he's centered up. Let's just make sure he is. I'm going to shift select our template and center that. Yep, he's centered. This is much smaller than we want. I want this whole face to fill up the tile. Moving from the middle, I'm going to increase the size, probably going to be 200 to 250%. Let's try 250. Even more than that. So let's just hold this until he gets to be about the right size. Okay, that's the exact size of the tile. I'm going to go just a little bit bigger. So we can see the template. I'm going to move that down. We can see how that template lines up. Let me zoom out a little bit. That looks like it's going to fit really well. When we burn this, we don't want the laser trying to burn all this stuff outside of our template area. I'm going to use the template as an image mask. So I select the image I want to mask. To select this square, I'm going to need to hide my image first. Then I can shift select the square. You can see how the border is turned into the little marching ants. I can right click on that and choose apply mask. If things aren't aligned quite properly, I can still move the image around. Just by selecting the image, I can move it around a little bit. We had it selected, or we had it entered where we wanted it. This should work really well. This is a nice dark image. Let's make sure we have the correct burn parameters, and then we can do a preview to see what this is going to do. I go to Tiles, Paint, Black on Color. I'm going to assign that. Let's do a quick preview. As we can see, it's pretty much going to burn the entire tile. My hope was to have the frog just barely coming out of the black. And so this is going to be doing too much burning. We need to adjust the image. If we look, we're doing Jarvis, which is how I typically do images, because I found that for the way that I do things, that works out the best. Let's come over here to Shape Properties, click on the image. What I want to play around with is the contrast and the brightness. By changing the contrast, I'll just do a really big number. We can see that that really turns the black and white black and white. We do a preview. We can see how much of this area down here, there's going to be no burning in, and that's what I'm going for. I want to have as little as possible being burned, but still be able to see that it's a frog. The downside is this is too bright here. I'm going to lose the green. It's going to go in and cut through too much. So I need a balance between those. Let's try something more like 20. Do a quick preview. Still not too bad. Maybe a little too much. Try 10. Now maybe that's not enough. I also want to play with the brightness. And here's the odd thing. With brightness, I'm actually going to decrease the brightness. I'll do a big number so we can see it real easily. See how that makes that really dark? The cool thing would be this might work actually pretty well in that I'm not getting a whole lot of the frog, but that's kind of what I was looking for. But that's not enough detail, I think. So we'll need to not go quite so radical. That wouldn't be too bad. What I might have to do is a couple experiments to see what works better. I think I'm going to start with the 10 contrast and a -10 brightness, see how that turns out. We already have our properties or our burn parameters set. Let's go ahead and send this to the laser, see how it turns out, and then I'm going to try another setting and see how that turns out. Let's head over to the laser. For my second attempt, I want this to be a little darker. I liked the contrast and brightness. Instead of playing with those numbers, I want to change my burn parameters. I'm going to speed up the laser just a little bit. I'm going to set it to 5,000 millimeters per minute, which will spend a little less time burning, so it'll be a little bit darker, not a lot. We'll do a burn on that, and then we can compare the two to see which one I like better. Once I've decided which one I like, I'll do another one with those parameters, as I'll be giving 2 of these particular ones away. Let's take a look at the results and see what I like better. The frog on the left is the one I did first. This one is with the slightly faster burning speed. They both turned out really nicely. This is the one I prefer. I'm going to make a second one of this as the gift. Those tiles ended up turning out better than I had hoped. I'd gotten the clear polyurethane coating on there to protect the paint, and they turned out really well. I'm very pleased with the way it turned out. It's dark on the outside. It would have been really cool if this whole part could have been a little bit darker, but I'm very pleased with how it turned out, and hopefully the bride will enjoy these. For the cold galvanizing, still have some more white tiles. I have the gold galvanizing compound. That's going to have to be a different video because this one's getting kind of long. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you like the content of our channel, think about subscribing, as that really does help us out. As always, enjoy doing your CNC at home projects. Ribbit. Ribbit.